hear me now? Yes. Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming here and joining us for this panel. We have a very difficult task to talk about numbers after this inspiring performance, one of my favorite groups. First I want to kind of note that I'm here in my personal capacity. And second, before we start, I have a question for the audience. Who of you owns or runs a business? Can you raise your hand? Great. So today we're going to be talking about you. So today Alexander will present the first national survey of Ukrainian-owned businesses in the United States. And our discussion will focus on three main topics. The first one is what are the Ukrainian businesses are, what are their challenges, what are their opportunities, and how their full potential can be unlocked. The second one has a direct relation to what you're doing here and what you'll be doing on Capitol Hill is how this information can be used as advocacy tool. And some of the numbers you're going to hear are going to blow your mind, and probably some of the congressmen or staffers as well. And also we will discuss how, based on this data, and it's a hard data, how can Ukrainian-American businesses participate in reconstruction of Ukraine, or how can they be reintegrated in Ukraine economy? So I'll introduce my distinguished panelists. So we'll start from Alexander Romanishin. Alexander is a policymaker and economist. He is a former Deputy Minister of Economy of Ukraine and a founder of the ISE Group. His work bridges public policy, digital transformation, and private sector development. And this experience gives him a unique perspective on how Ukrainian entrepreneurship can drive both national resilience and international partnerships. Eva Sigaev. Eva serves as the president of the Ukrainian-American Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and also as director of administration at the Self-Reliance Association in Chicago. She is deeply engaged in supporting Ukrainian businesses, entrepreneurs, fostering business networks, and promoting investment opportunities in both US and Ukraine. And she also helps with community initiatives to help Ukrainians who has to flee the war in Ukraine to make their lives in the United States. And Vitaly Goncharuk, probably many of you know him. He's a tech entrepreneur of Ukrainian descent, and with a track record in AI and autonomous navigation. In 2022, he sold his company Augmented Pixels, which is to Qualcomm, which is a major success story for the Ukrainian tech community. Now he leads two companies, at least what I know about. It's A19 Lab, focused on autonomous navigation for drones, and 12 New AI, which develops AI agents for negotiations and procurements. And he also serves on the board of the Harvard Business School of Washington, D.C. So we'll discuss the presentation, we'll discuss the data, but we will start with the presentation itself. And Alexander, welcome. Tell us what did you find? What are your findings?
It's possible to, okay, yeah, the presentation is here. But before starting sharing the data and our insight, I maybe would like to say a couple of words why we decided to do it. 1 year ago, I had a meeting with my friends from the State Department, and we discussed with him very honestly about how we can make Ukrainian advocacy stronger. What is not enough? How to facilitate, accelerate the decision-making process from the US government side. And he said told me very interesting things. So look, Alex, you know, Ukrainians do very well. You fight for the democracy, you have a brilliant flag, you're so creative, but we don't see you here. I asked him, what do you mean don't see us here? We don't see the impact on our economy. We don't see the numbers. We don't understand how a big impact you do on the US economy. Okay, and challenge accepted. And we start to think how we can do it, how we can identify Ukrainians who are here, because everybody knows stories about WhatsApp, about Grammarly, but it's a kind of like sample of several stories. It's not a volume of how many taxes they pay, how many jobs they created. So, and we start to build partnerships with the US organizations. And the Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Chicago was one of the first who joined this study and start to support these initiatives. Later on, Select USA, which belongs to the State Department, joined us. Many other business associations started to sharing knowledge about who knows what about Ukrainian businesses. And here we are. We did really, really interesting numbers. Some of them are mind-blowing. Some of them may be discussionable, and we will do discussion here. And yeah, here we are, and start to speak about the numbers. We used two different types of approach: top-down and bottom-up. It's not easy to identify Ukrainians from the database, because when you do incorporation of the businesses, there's no like boxes where you can tick I'm Ukrainian or I'm from Ukrainian diaspora. So the biggest challenge, how to identify Ukrainian businesses. And we start to spread the world, and we start to spread the survey among many organizations, and we collected, as of now, over 2,000 real Ukrainian businesses who work in over all states and cover many industries. And one of the first insights from this study was for us that Ukrainian-owned companies represent almost all areas, all industries of United States economy. Everybody knows about IT, consultings, and some tracks, but we identify the big cluster of healthcare and social assistance. Many companies do manufacturing. Many companies do retail trade. Many companies do work in great business, leisure and hospitality, finance and insurance. So we cover almost all industries which are quite active in the United States. So the next question was about geography. And you see here the top states with the biggest numbers of Ukrainian created businesses is Illinois, Texas, New Jersey, Florida, California, New York. Delaware, because of it's commonly used for incorporation due to tax advantages. And the other questions, when this company incorporated, when Ukrainians started to do businesses. And the very interesting point that around 30% were relocated due to the war. And over 50% founded during the last 5 years. So in terms of numbers, it's over, I will show you the numbers, it's over 45,000 Ukrainian origin firms. So this is the most game changer numbers, which explain that Ukrainians not just ask for aids, Ukrainians create businesses here, and Ukrainians created jobs here. And these companies totally generate revenue which approximately equal to the GDP of North Dakota. If you don't know the GDP of North Dakota, it's around $60 billion per year. So it's the size of all Ukrainian companies that generate revenue annually. And this is 300 jobs, and everyone collectively received 24 billion like in salary. In terms of sectoral employment pattern and payroll by industry, we see the same pattern like from our survey. Technology, IT sector, healthcare, manufacturing, transportation, retail, hospitality. Another very interesting number is how many taxes this company paid. It's around 8-9 billion annually. And this money go directly to fund the schools, roads, healthcare, security system. So actually, Ukrainian-owned businesses contribute directly to all social assistance to all districts around the country. And this is a really important point when we speak with the congressman and to explain that we are a contributor to the US economy. So to make it briefly, the summary of business impact, and Nick just arrived on the most important slide. This is a summary of how we contribute to the US economy in terms of job creations, in terms of tax paid, in terms of annual business revenue, in terms of investment mobilization. For the whole period, starting from the first diaspora wave till now, we identified over 50 billion investment which mobilized through different vehicles, through venture capital funds, through private equity funds, through banks, loans, etc. Right now, around over 10 financial institutions founded by Ukrainian owners, and they working well. They have in the middle over 1 billion under the management, which is quite big. And what is very important, it's behavior of Ukrainian businesses. Most of them do reinvestment. And this again, another talking point that Ukrainian businesses still working and still prefer to stay in the US despite of the war, despite of the challenges which they have. We have some slides about outlook of the businesses, about the plan, what they're going to do, but take into account that time constraint, maybe we will discuss it during the panel discussion.
Thank you, Alexander. I'll just have a short follow-up. What are the main challenges that those businesses are facing? Are they the same as American-founded businesses, people who grew up here, or they have some their own challenges of their own?
Yeah, definitely. Some challenges depend on the size of the company, and challenges depend on the industry and sector which they represent. So, but I would say that the most common challenge is operational cost. It's very high, and the hiring process is very hard. So there is a discrepancy between different sectors, but if you make a long story short, there are the most biggest challenges which Ukrainian business are trying to overcome. But particularly for immigrant businesses, there's one extra challenge, this visa and immigration constraints. And in terms of size, we identify the kind of correlations that if the company is smaller, they have more numbers of challenges than the company who has over 250 employees.
Thank you. Eva, based on your experience on the ground, working with Ukraine-owned businesses in Chicago and other areas in the United States, how do those fundings resonate with you? What do you see in your experience in other companies?
Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for inviting us here. It's wonderful to be in Washington, D.C. in this time of the year and see so many familiar faces and making new connections. Thank you so much. The Ukrainian-American Chamber of Commerce and Industry was founded 2.5 years ago in Chicago. And the first founders were about 10-15 business owners who were already having established businesses in the US. And because of the war, which started in 2022, the Ukrainian community, the Ukrainian diaspora, which is very big in Chicago, you probably know, couldn't sit still and just doing nothing. We wanted to do something for Ukraine. So all of those business owners decided to create Ukrainian-American Chamber, which, interesting, haven't been existing before. Since that time, we established the membership program, which is a founding venue for the chamber. And now we are proud to tell you we have about 50, 60 businesses as members in our chamber, and we keep growing. So during the time of 2022 and 2023, the chamber started spreading its message and mission, which is helping Ukrainians who are already in America or who are in Ukraine and want to do some businesses in the States, or American companies who are interested to build connections with Ukrainian businesses. And our chamber is doing just fine. We have members, big and small. We have companies who are one owner. We have companies who have 1,000 people as workers, but all of them facing the same challenges. All of them, especially now, when they hiring people for the company, they trying to hire Ukrainian people, and Ukrainian people are so hardly work. I mean, they work hard. They doing everything what they can do for this country, but they face state challenges. That's a language, and of course the documentations. You know, because in 2022, when the war started, American government created the program, you all know U4U program, and that helped Ukrainians to arrive to this country. And from the beginning, when the program was created, nobody knew how this war will be happening. So the program was fully funded, and the organizations like Self-Reliance Association, which I'm working also as a director of administration, hired so many workers to help Ukrainians to obtain documentations, to learn language. Everything is funded by the state. But the wars keep going. So the next year, our organization, the Self-Reliance Association, is start having challenges because of we don't know if we're going to be funded by the state. So a lot of challenges from every corner you can imagine, and you're probably all familiar with that. But what makes Ukrainians different? They are resilient. They keep working. They keep doing. They bring all the knowledge, all education they used to have to this country and starting from the scratch. Not knowing enough English, not having connections, not understanding how business works in this country, they thrive. And they do excellent. And today we're so proud seeing these numbers because, as Alexander said, nobody knew. Like if you're working on something but you don't know the statistics, you don't know if you're doing good or bad, right? But when we decided to do this study, we were so amazed how big impact Ukrainian-owned businesses make into US economy.
Thank you. Vitaly probably is one of the most distinguished, successful cases of Ukrainian-owned businesses in the United States. If you can tell us a little bit about your journey, your business journey, and what challenges did you have, and are they different from what is presented in the survey?
First of all, I just want to thank you for bringing me to this panel. And you know, I live in DC for like last 3 years. Before that, I was in California, and I'm very happy what Alexander actually prepared this report, because as you may understand, like there are many countries in the world who are coming to Washington DC to ask for money, but nobody, and ask for donations, but nobody speak about value. Then back to your question. So I started my company in 2013, so like before everything started in Ukraine. Maybe my kind of what I do in this country and what all entrepreneurs doing in this country a little bit different than most of our people here doing in terms of charity, because my goal to succeed in the United States is to actually create the value for local community. actually to create the value for local society. It's not, my goal is not to bring this like kind of resources and money to Ukraine. My goal to be valuable for local people. So, and of course, once I make some money, I can donate back to my country and I can donate to charities. But my #1 goal is actually to create value for local people. So I'm very happy. So we started this dialogue because in the United States, to speak with local people, you need to speak about numbers. I believe somebody who are local here, they know what people, like Americans understand numbers. And you need to speak about like how to be like valuable, like what they can get from this discussion. So I believe this presentation is it's a good first, maybe not the first step, but it's a good start. Long story short about my company. So I started the company in 2013. We started to create like autonomous systems for drones and robotics. My clients being like Amazon, Apple, like all big brands. So we had offices in Ukraine, but I was based in Palo Alto, California. Through this journey, I cannot claim United States about any problems because to run business in Ukraine, you have to know name of head of tax administration. You need to know names of minister, etc. In the United States, I never spoke with anybody from tax authorities. I never spoke with anybody from the government related to my business. So it's just very good environment. Probably in 2015, when we decided like to hire people in the United States, I had a stereotype of what it's very hard to hire local people. I mean, to hire Americans, because you have to pay more. You have risks what they will go to the court if your behavior will not appropriate, etc. But till 2022, we hired only Americans. So So of course, I had offices in Ukraine, in other countries, but in my U.S. office, we hired only people from United States. It was different experience, but I'm advised to everybody who want to succeed in the United States, hire Americans, because this is the only way how you can understand this country much better through such relations. And again, I created a company, I sold my company, I never faced any problem from the government, I never saw any people from tax administration, etc. I just go through my lawyers, tax advisor, etc. So it's very secure, very comfortable environment.
Just a follow-up, did the Ukrainian diaspora in Silicon Valley or in California play any role in your business?
Very good question. I have, okay, I will just 1 minute for this. So I have some good friends in the diaspora, I mean, like people who are originally born in the United States. But when you're in California, probably they're not as integrated into society than in Chicago, for example, or New York. We had in 2014, I think, I'm not sure if Nick Bilogorsky here, but he created Nova Ukraine. So it was kind of first initiative in Bay Area, uniting like people from Ukraine or who like want to support Ukraine. But in terms of like business development, in terms of again access to human resources, I just rely on myself, and it's probably for entrepreneurs is the best position what you're not expecting for any help, and if you receive any help, it's like bonus. Later when I come to Washington D.C., of course here's like more Ukrainians, and probably much more support, but we had some discussions with some prominent members of the diaspora about how they can support Ukrainian entrepreneurs, or like especially who moved recently. And for them, it's like something totally new. They don't know how to support, they don't have interfaces to work with entrepreneurs. They're not familiar with it. They have some, some committees for doctors, for kind of professionals, but they don't know how to work with this. But I believe they need to learn how to deal with such people like us.
And now we have the chamber. And so based on the data, what we just learned, and the chamber played a big role in developing this survey, how can we use results of the survey to help the entrepreneurs like Vitaly and others?
Thank you for the question. That's actually a very good question. Thank you, Tatiana. And everything came timely. The chamber was formed 2.5 years ago. Then the wars continued. Ukrainians keep arriving in this country. Ukrainians are hard workers and they are very fast and clever. So when everything is happening, chamber was kind of looking for a person, a key person who can start helping to understand what's going on with all the businesses. And at this time, we met with Alexander. Alexander came as an advisor to the chamber, and Alexander gave us this bold idea: what if we're gonna start just sending a survey to all of those businesses and see what they're facing, what they struggling with, what the issues, what the problems. And that's how it all started. And after this research and after all this data, we understood Ukrainians are facing, today they're facing the big challenges because of the changes in the status. Because a lot of them arrived by U4U program, and today I got some numbers for you. The total number of Ukrainians who have arrived since the war began is over 580,000. Approximately 240,000 Ukrainians have relocated to US through the U4U program. And the U4U program was helping them to jumpstart the presence here, because most all of them got the work authorization, but the work authorization is coming with an expiration date. So now they all seeing the business is kind of developed and growing, but the work authorization is coming to the end. So the challenges are how to prolong your stay legally, how to keep making money, how to keep workers in your business, because all those workers facing the same problems. How to, just keep your kids in school and provide. So all of this came up as, the chamber started thinking about the Ukrainian Adjustment Act, which was created by the government, by the House of Representatives actually, and now it's kind of renewed and grown a little bit bigger in April 30th, 2025. And one of the congressmen is Mike Quigley, who is the congressman, and he's a big supporter of Ukrainian community in Chicago. So he's a leader on this. So I believe, and I'm speaking as a president of the chamber, that this research, this survey, and this data will help us to start talking about this. I want everybody to share this as much as you can, and maybe with all of our help, this data will come to higher and higher levels in Washington, and then maybe one day it will come to, to the right people's ears, and maybe this Ukrainian Adjustment Act will start working for all of us.
I just want to note that this is an ongoing study, so if you haven't yet filled the form, we'll show the QR code later. If you want to share experience about your business, you can still do it. And while today we're at the Advocacy Summit, and we've alluded a few times that this survey can be very useful, I want Alexander to help out all of you and kind of formulate the messages that you can use in your campaigning.
Yeah, definitely. So the idea behind this research, not just the data. So the data should be used in the proper way. And one of the proper way is to transform evidence study to real action. And I'm really happy that Katerina proposed us to present the study on Ukrainian Action Summit, because our motto is evidence to action. So, and we are happy to provide you with the real data which you can use on your meetings and have this talking point explaining. So, look guys, we are not asking for the aid, we already contribute. And we have evidence. you will be able, I will send you, show you the QR code, and when you fill the form, we will be able to share with you the 50 pages of the study. So you will see the data. Some of them are related to some states. There is some methodological explanation, and as Tatiana mentioned, it's the first stage. So we have some assumptions, and we definitely want to verify some of the assumptions on the state level. So this is why we want to continue our work, and we want to make business briefings or meetups, whatever, in all states, and to meet with the businesses and to speak with them. What is assumptions are right, what assumptions are wrong, to validate them, and to make on the second round, or maybe on the next action summit, to present the one-pager on the district level about contributions to particular index, to particular district, how many companies incorporated there, how many workers working there by Ukrainians. So, and this data will be the most powerful tools for advocacy. And yeah, thanks. Yeah, and take into account that the time now is that we need to speak in numbers and in business-wise. I believe that we are well equipped to make real policy recommendations. To do that, I invite you actually to join. We call it like a UA to USA, because we Ukrainian contribute to the US economy. And we want to create this platform, and we share with you the insights of our plans, which we are going to do during the next year in different states, and what types of activity we want to do, and how to make Ukrainian business visible. And at the end, I want to say one point. On the beginning, during the opening remark, Nick Belogorsky said a very important point, that Ukraine is an asset. And I believe Ukrainian abroad is an asset as well. And Ukrainian abroad should be the strong assets. If we are stronger, we can support Ukraine much bigger. So, and let's make this evidence to actions real.
And now we go back to our case study, Vitaly. In 2020, Qualcomm bought your company. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how that kind of success contributed to the US economy and possibly also to national security?
Thank you. Yes, probably a very relevant question, but I just want to give some remark on what I just heard from Alexander. In Silicon Valley, probably you all aware about artificial intelligence and robotics. And in the United States, a lot of concerns about what will happen with future disruption of employee market. And I believe for Ukrainians who in the United States, it's very important to position themselves as a high-skilled workforce, as a American coherent workforce. So the people who are coherent with the values, with culture, etc., not to look just the foreigners who just came temporary here. Then it's create very good impression for people, and then they maybe will be more open for these initiatives. Back to Tatiana, to your question. So my company actually created several technologies for drone autonomy, like GPS-denied environment. It's actually very popular now in Ukraine on the battlefield. And we created this technology state-of-the-art. So again, we competed with local companies, with alumni from Harvard, from Stanford, etc. But despite being originally a Ukrainian company, we had pretty good clients here. So believe me, most of my competitors will be happy to send me abroad to just stop competition. But now, if you look on scale, for example, Qualcomm incorporate, I cannot speak too much about, because I'm still 3 months non-compete, but let's say Qualcomm, it's the major producer of chips in the United States. and all phones except Apple based on Qualcomm. So they incorporated our technology in phones, in drones, etc., which actually, I believe it's a huge impact just on a competitiveness of American technologies. So probably this is a very good case. And you can, especially you can kind of see the situation now on with drone technologies in Ukraine. United States actually very interesting to learn and to incorporate these technologies, and not only technologies, actually people who know how to develop this, who are familiar with experience on the battlefield. So definitely scaling such examples and creating kind of I don't know, some institutions which can systematically learn from Ukraine, systematically bring some technologies and people in the United States. It could be very valuable for United States. I think maybe 3-4 years ago, industry players in drones, they think they have very, very good drones, but now they're not sure. They understood what Ukraine actually have in some areas. I don't want to say in all areas, but in some specific technologies, they have much better technologies which can help them to compete in the future conflicts. So kind of, if Ukraine will create some track and United States will kind of facilitate it and create kind of good cooperation, I think it will be very valuable for security, for competitive advantage of the United States.
And we have a few minutes left before open for the questions, and let's talk a little bit about Ukraine's economy, how this study contributes to Ukraine's economy. If Alexander, we can start with you. Based on what we know about Ukraine's diaspora businesses here, what role it can play in the reconstruction efforts in Ukraine at some point?
Well, it's a really big question, and every year during the last 2 years, 3 years, we do together with CSIS, Dan Radney from CSIS, who moderated the first panel, we did together with him annual doing business in Ukraine. And we tried to mobilize capital, and we tried to mobilize American companies to participate in Ukrainian reconstruction. So my takeaways from this conference, I'm not very 100% happy with that, and it's not easy to push American companies to operate in Ukraine if they're just newcomer. And it's always a question of the trust. When you go to a new market, you need to have reliable partners. And how to build the trust for American companies to operate in Ukraine. And this data and this kind of, not even data, but numbers of companies who operate, diaspora companies who operate in different sectors could be those partners with whom American companies can do joint ventures and participate together. Why? Because there is a trust between American companies and Ukrainian-American companies, and there is a trust for Ukrainian diaspora companies in Ukraine as well. So it's a kind of bridge to bring technology, capital, know-how to Ukraine through diaspora community, business diaspora community.
And hopefully day will come soon, but the war is still ongoing. And Eva, if you can talk a little bit how Ukraine-owned businesses in the United States are helping Ukraine today and helping this resilience so Ukraine can continue defend itself.
Right, so speaking about our members, I mentioned we have small and big. So one of them is Rebuilding Ukraine Association. And the owner and the founder of the company, he's one of our board of directors. He's very passionate about, it's Thomas Lang, he's very passionate about his latest project, which is project management program. They created the program fully supported by some of the well-known universities in United States and Ukraine. One of them is Kyiv Building Architecture University. So what they're trying to do, they trying to teach the veterans, the people who came back from the front line, Ukrainians who are very, feeling different about life and about their body because some, arms and legs are missing. So the program is working on building skilled workforce for Ukrainian reconstruction, teaching future managers who will be fully equipped with knowledge of the technology and language and all the latest business tools which help them to be full, capable of working in new Ukraine, not just sitting home and thinking what to do with themselves. So I think it's a huge program. I think it's very, very humanly focused.
And thank you, Eva. And if we're talking about businesses in Ukraine and building drones or any other businesses, from the perspective of businessmen, what policy from the Ukrainian government would best help to reintegrate Ukrainian-owned businesses back into Ukraine in any shape or form? What will bring them back?
It's a very, very tough question. Especially as for Ukrainians who moved out of Ukraine and become successful in other countries, it's very hard to go back to Ukraine specifically because of legislation, because of court systems, and all these terms. What I can just talk about. But I think first of all, Ukrainian government must change rhetorics on immigrants. Because now we see what some politicians in Ukraine actually trying to show what some Ukrainians are not very Ukrainians because they moved out of Ukraine during the war. I moved in 2013, so it was a decision way before. So I think Ukrainian government and some public politicians in Ukraine must change rhetorics, so people understand what they are welcome back. Number two, I think if Ukrainian government want to bring through successful entrepreneurs investments back to Ukraine, it should be some reforms in Ukraine related to corruption and other stuff. And as you understand, a lot of businesses, like US original businesses in the United States, they coming, for example, to me or to other people who have some reputation and social capital in the United States. They do understand what my opinion on some opportunities in Ukraine are much more valuable because I have my social capital here. So I put my reputation, which I spent 12 years of my life creating my reputation here, creating social capital here. So I will not risk my social capital because of just some strange opportunity in Ukraine. So of course they're asking me or some people like me to do some due diligence of opportunities in Ukraine. I think if Ukraine wants really to open investments to back to Ukraine, they need to convince us first what it's safe, it's secure. Only after that, American capital or European capital will go to Ukraine because they understand what we should join this effort. If we put our money back to Ukraine, then we understand what it's a proper risk. If we just advising and smiling, but not putting our own money back to Ukraine, then probably it's still too early.
Maybe someone has a question, please. Maria?
Yeah, I think we can take two questions from the audience. Yeah, the lady was first.
Hi, I'm Maria, and my question might be a little strange. You said you left Ukraine in 2013, and you're talking about all the corruption. Sure. Ukraine has changed so much since then. A lot. I myself, as a private entrepreneur in Ukraine, I can open it through DIA within 5 minutes. I don't deal with any tax authorities. do you think it's fair that you give such assumptions to people who might invest to Ukraine when your data is a little bit, if you haven't had business in Ukraine for 16 years, a lot has changed. How do you think it's fair that you have such assumptions, such evaluations? And I'm not trying to attack you, I'm asking genuinely because I have a different experience. I'm also not a businesswoman. How do you make these evaluations? How do you make this due diligence? What is it based on? Thank you.
I was not as disconnected to Ukraine as you think. I was advisor to Vice Prime Minister of Ukraine. I was chairman of AI Committee of Ukraine, and I had offices in Ukraine, so I'm kind of familiar with what's happening, and I have many friends in Ukraine still. Despite that, I agree what when you're talking about like small businesses and medium businesses, situation like much improved. So like less problem, etc. So it's not don't get me wrong. It's not like situation in everything going worse, but in some cases it still need to improve. And I believe most of our people who want to put money in Ukraine, it's not about just public talks, etc., or like real money. Actually, money speaks. You know, if you will, we can discuss this a lot, but if there are no money, it's the best sign of something happening wrong or no. Thank you.
And one more.
Vitaly, thank you for answering this tough question. Yeah, and I saw a lady here. Yeah.
Hi, Amanda Hall. I'm the founder and executive director for Orel Alliance. I'm just wondering if there are any plans to collect data not just on Ukrainian-owned businesses, but the Ukrainian workers here in the United States. Our organization serves those who are falling out of status and losing their work permits. And I think if we could show, here's the economic impact that we're missing out on by not allowing these people to work, that might make a more convincing argument to fix these US CIS delays.
And if you allow me, I can partially answer your question. Tomorrow we'll have a panel discussion about refugees, Ukrainian people from Ukraine here. We will share status of those people here with numbers. And our panelists and speakers will provide us with the clear guidance, what we can do coming back home to advocate for Ukrainians in our states. So, but if you have any answer here, you're welcome to pick it up.
Maybe just a brief addition to what Katerina said. So there is a quite very prominent initiatives to collect database of alumni of National Kyiv Mohyla Academy. So all of them are here, and there is, you know the numbers, yeah? How many of Ukrainians from only? At least 800. Yes. Yeah, so, and we collect all alumni of all universities, so we could do like a, again, bottom-up approach and to identify them, like addition to tomorrow's panel.
Yeah, thank you. And I just want to remind you that we have a QR code for you to leave your questions, because we are not able to answer all your questions, but we promise that we'll come back to you in email or during these days, tomorrow, or during Monday training. So I want to thank our panelists and our moderator, Tatiana, for gathering and moderating the panel in such a great way. Alexander, thank you for bringing this data. I think it's a great opportunity and great background for us to think about, to ask and go deeper, to understand how Ukrainians can sometimes even change the landscape of business here in the US. And Vitaly, thank you for answering your tough questions and sharing your personal story. That's really insightful. And Yeva, thank you for your continuous support of Ukrainians who come here and try to find a way how to make their businesses here. Thank you. And we will have 10 minutes break now before the next panel discussion that will be dedicated to veterans. And we have raised, thank you.